Chancellor Dollfuss lay bleeding, Vienna in chaos. This wasn't just murder, it was a nation's fate at stake. The 25th of July, 1934, dawned in Vienna with an unsettling quiet. But beneath the surface, a meticulously planned coup was about to shatter the fragile peace of the First Austrian Republic. The target, Chancellor Engelbert Dollfuss, a man who, despite his diminutive stature, stood as a defiant bulwark against the rising tide of Nazism. Dollfuss, often called the Millimeternisch for his small physical stature and sharp political mind, had steered Austria through turbulent times. He dissolved parliament, banned political parties, including the Nazis, and established an authoritarian corporate state. His actions, while controversial, were born from a deep-seated fear of Austrian absorption into Hitler's Germany. The threat from within was palpable. Austrian Nazis, many of them trained and funded from Germany, were desperate to overthrow Dollfuss and achieve Anschluss the Union with the Third Reich. Their opportunity came on that fateful July morning, exploiting the Chancellor's regular routine. Around 12:30 p.m., a group of 154 Austrian SS men, disguised in Austrian army uniforms, stormed the Chancellery building on Bolhesplatz. Their plan was audacious: seize the government, force Dollfuss to resign, and install a pro-Nazi regime. The element of surprise was crucial, but their execution was anything but flawless. Inside, Chancellor Dollfuss was attempting to flee. He was cornered in a corridor by two conspirators, Otto Planeta and Rudolf Fay. A brief struggle ensued. Planeta, a former soldier and convicted murderer, drew his pistol. Two shots echoed through the Chancellery. One bullet struck Dollfuss in the arm, the other fatally in the neck. He collapsed, bleeding profusely. The conspirators, in their haste and disorganization, refused him medical attention, leaving him to slowly succumb to his wounds. A political assassination had just been committed in the heart of Europe. The Putschists, believing they had succeeded, then attempted to broadcast a false report of Dollfuss's resignation over the radio. However, loyal government forces quickly surrounded the Chancellery. The coup, rather than a swift takeover, devolved into a tense standoff. For hours, the conspirators held government officials hostage, believing German intervention was imminent. They were wrong. Hitler, despite his underlying desire for Anschluss, wasn't ready for open conflict with Italy, whose leader Mussolini had positioned troops on the Austrian border in a show of support for Dollfuss. By evening, the putsch had failed. Loyal Austrian forces, under the command of Kurt Schuschnigg, Dollfuss's successor, retook the Chancellery. Many of the conspirators were arrested, tried, and swiftly executed. Otto Planeta, Dollfuss's assassin, was among them, hanged within days. The assassination of Dollfuss sent shockwaves across Europe. It laid bare the brutal tactics of the Nazi regime and their expansionist ambitions. While the immediate coup failed, the underlying objective, Anschluss, remained a terrifying possibility. Austria found itself in an increasingly precarious position. Surrounded by powerful neighbors, its independence was a constant struggle. Dollfuss's death left a power vacuum, and his authoritarian system, meant to preserve Austrian sovereignty, now lacked its architect. Kurt Schuschnigg inherited a poisoned chalice. He attempted to continue Dollfuss's policy of maintaining independence, but the pressure from Germany was relentless. Economic coercion, political infiltration, and propaganda campaigns chipped away at Austrian resolve. The assassination also created a martyr. Dollfuss, reviled by some for his authoritarianism, was now seen by many as a tragic figure, a small man who dared to stand against a monstrous force. His legacy became intertwined with Austria's struggle for survival. Yet questions lingered. Were there higher-level German officials directly orchestrating the assassination, beyond just providing support for the Austrian Nazis? The speed and ruthlessness of the planning suggested a deeper, more coordinated effort than what initially appeared. Some historians point to Franz von Papen, Hitler's vice-chancellor, who, despite public denials, was known to be actively involved in subversive activities in Austria. His role and the extent of Hitler's direct knowledge of the assassination plot remains a subject of historical debate. The July Putsch was a dress rehearsal for what was to come. It tested the international community's resolve and revealed the limits of intervention. Mussolini's swift response was an anomaly. Broader European powers remained hesitant, unwilling to risk wider conflict. The assassination also exposed the deep ideological divisions within Austria itself. The country was a patchwork of conflicting political loyalties, making it fertile ground for Nazi propaganda and infiltration. Dollfuss's attempts to forge national unity had ultimately failed. Less than 4 years later, in March 1938, the inevitable occurred. Hitler, emboldened by the lack of international resistance and having neutralized Italian opposition, marched German troops into Austria. The Anschluss, long sought by the Nazis, was finally complete. The sacrifice of Dollfuss and the thousands of Austrians who resisted Nazism had ultimately been in vain. The assassination, while a tactical failure for the Nazis, served as a grim prelude to the complete subjugation of Austria and the wider catastrophe of World War II. The story of the July Putsch isn't merely a tale of political murder. It's a stark reminder of how fragile democracy can be, how easily a nation's sovereignty can be eroded, and how the seeds of future global conflicts are often sown in seemingly isolated acts of violence. The reverberations of that hot July day in Vienna continue to echo through history, a chilling testament to the power of extremism and the tragic consequences of political assassinations. Next, we'll delve into the assassination that ignited a world war, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand.